From the grind to the glory, one man's journey proves that heart, hustle, and determination change the game. This is Catch as Catch Can with George Tinsley Sr., where adversity is met head-on and champions are made. Here's George.
Welcome to Catch as Catch Can. I'm George Tinsley Sr., former professional athlete, entrepreneur, author, and your host. This is a space where we sit down with leaders who face real challenges, learned real lessons, and kept moving forward.
Turning obstacles into opportunity.
Hello, we have with us Kori Farr and his wife, Brittany. Kori Farr is a faith-driven entrepreneur and owner of Handyman Connection of Newburg in Louisville, Kentucky. With over 20 years in construction and remodeling, he grew his business from $730,000 to over $2 million in just 3 years, earning Rookie of the Year and Franchisee of the Year honors. Kori is passionate about resilience, mindset, and helping others turn challenges into opportunities. So welcome today, Kori and Brittany.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'm glad to have you. We're glad to have you on the program, and certainly as I speak to both of you, I speak as one. In our introductions, I was reading it, so I left you out there, Brittany, in some parts of it, but definitely I understand how husband and wife business relationship works, is that my wife and I have been in business for well over 42, 43 years. So I congratulate you on doing so. So let's start off by the question, and I'll start off addressing you, Kori. What inspired your journey from construction to franchise ownership?
So I worked for a local tile distributor called Meast Tile and Marble for almost 13 years. It was a family-owned business, and COVID hit. And when COVID hit, I saw a need to want to do something more recession-proof and not be so niche. Throughout it all, my wife and I have been pretty spiritual, and I wanted to figure out how I could literally make an impact on not only my family but the community. And I always knew I had the gift for the gab. Throughout trials and tribulations has been the story of my life, and I knew that there was an opportunity there for me to be successful by becoming my own boss. Little did I know that we would take off as fast as we have. But I ended up completing my MBA out at a place called Trident University in Cypress, California. And I got to thinking, what more can I do here? Because where I'm at today is probably where I'm going to be at tomorrow, unless I just go out here and set the world on fire with selling a lot more tile and a lot more granite countertops. And I just saw that there could potentially become a holdup. And I decided to jump into the deep end with the big boys.
That's a very interesting perspective, and obviously COVID rerouted a number of different businesses, corporate and entrepreneurial. Brittany, give me your side of the story.
We were in a position where, we came from kind of having to grow up a little younger, learning some hard lessons younger. So, through that, just trying to build credit, do things the right way. We had kids, things like that. Kind of did things out of order, like that society deems out of order or whatever. But this was an opportunity for our family to grow, financially, but also be a part of the community. We've always wanted to connect with other people. How do we do that? How, what God's plans are for us are to disciple to other people. And how do we do that? How do we connect with others if we're to ourselves? I had a work from home job, not that I can't disciple through the phones, but it's different when you're doing, face-to-face interactions on a daily basis. So it was definitely an opportunity that presented itself. And I don't really know much about the industry myself, but kind of hopped on board with it. So it's been great. And I think it's definitely been a God thing for us. So
Right. So, am I understanding that you were working from home, taking care of the kids, or you had a job, a prior job?
I worked from home.
Okay.
I worked for medical records department for a local hospital. And I also took care of the kids. They had NTI days where they could do their schooling from home on days that like snow days. So they didn't have to make them up. So there were a lot of challenges with that, but working from home also has a lot of advantages.
Right.
But the connection piece, I was definitely missing, working from home, not really being able to see and interact with people on a daily basis. So
Right. Which you had in essence two jobs, and one very critical job in taking care of the children. So that's what makes the team work. And working together. So once again, I congratulate you on that. I can identify with it in that in our experience when we first left corporate America and got into the franchise business. My wife actually worked from home initially and kept things going with our two children as well as taking care of a lot of the administrative piece. So there's a lot that goes into that, into what you do and working together. So that's great. How does your belief that no rock thrown can shatter my foundation, your quote there, how does that guide your mission?
Look at the Bible, open it up. You
Okay.
know, when you grow up the way that I had to grow up as a child, and then consistently experiencing loss throughout my adulthood, fighting with some debt, fighting with this, fighting with no support from my family, besides, my wife and my kids, and then my older brother. You learn really fast when when you were raised by a World War II veteran that there's not a whole lot that can take you down as long as you got God, wife, family. There's not a lot that can bring you down. And those are viable lessons that I learned early on in life that I am eternally grateful for my grandfather for.
So, Kori, as I listen to you, is there as in our audiences out there, is there anything else that you'd like to share with us about how those early obstacles that you ran into, how you turned them into opportunities?
My wife and I both are in recovery. I got sober when I was 21 years old. When COVID happened, my wife and I, for that entire year, held a Zoom meeting with a group of both Christian men and people trying to stay sober. If you keep the main thing, everything in itself will work itself out. I raised my son, or we raise our son to be vulnerable because at the end of the day, you're not the most athletic out there, but ain't nobody going to outwork you. And that's anything you do in life, whether it's on the basketball court or whether it's in life. There ain't nobody out here that's going to outwork me. And I'll tell you why. Because of my foundation, because of my God principles. I've got a backing that a lot of people wish they could have. And that's, having a spouse on your side. Because this is another trial and tribulation. Not only working with your wife, but operating a full-time business.
I understand. Understood. Brittany? Your belief in no rock thrown at you can shatter your foundation. That's your all's quote. I just wanted to understand your side of what that means to you.
yeah, I mean, specifically about the business or aspect, when I came into the business at the beginning of the year full time, our staff changed up completely. We went from having 3 people in the office to like just me for just a short time. And it's been a little bit of a trial. And I can't say that it was easy, but I love the Bible verse. That's where it says joy comes in the morning. Like, even if I'm facing something, even if I think it looks, it's going to look a certain way, like just that perspective and knowing that like God's plans are bigger than anything that I can think of or fathom. And so just walking through daily, putting that trust in. There's days I kick and scream. Like I'm not perfect.
Yes, she is.
But, recognizing that and giving myself grace because God gave us grace. That's a big thing too. So, just staying in the word and having that support system has been helpful too. It's not about the numbers of people that we have, but, the quality of relationship that we have with, the friends and family that we have that support each other. And, so, yeah.
Okay, very good. So let's dive a little deeper into the business. What strategies helped you grow from 730,000 to 100,000, that is, to over 2 million in 3 years? Carl, start with you again.
So I am a big time person with accountability and utilizing your resources. I had a leg up than most franchise owners do that come into this space because I already had prior trade experience. And with that being said, I already had some connections. So I brought in a guy that I knew for about 15 years. He's still with me to this day to help me operate the field. I constantly stayed in constant contact with corporate office. I took words from them, their advice. On top of all that, I talked to other people within the church that were business owners or successful business people. And I stayed on top of all that. And then what we did was we talk about utilizing your resources. The idea to success is keep your marketing as low as you possibly can. And I would work trade shows. I'd work the local flea markets when they would come to town at the Fair and Expo Center. I would reach out to friends and family. I constantly wanted to stay involved with the community. One of the biggest assets to our business, and this was something I was totally against about 5 years ago because I thought it was a full-time job, was BNI. Anybody knows about BNI, you've got a room full of about 30 people that are your sales reps, and you spend maybe $2,000 a year. You can't hire a sales rep for $2,000 a year. And throughout the year and a half I've been a part of BNI, I mean, we've done over $100,000 in business with just them. Sounds like a pretty good return on investment. So gratitude, making sure that my office understands what gratitude is, because gratitude will change your attitude. And what I found out by doing that is when you get them to be grateful for things, it's amazing what type of work you can get your employees to do.
So, Kori, let me just follow up on something. When you were working for a corporation, and then you left the corporation to become a franchisee, or did you maintain that relationship as you transitioned from the corporate employee to a franchise?
I maintained it for about 3 months, and I still buy product from them because I don't believe in burning bridges. I get referrals from them.
Okay. Just wanted for the audience out there to understand that. You mentioned BNI. Could you tell us what that is? BNI?
BNI is a network group, Business Network Incorporated. I think that's what BNI stands for. BNI, there are several different chapters throughout the whole United States. BNI is really big for those independent, like insurance agents and lawyers and stuff like that. They're great for small businesses because you typically have a trade, like someone from every trade that holds a seat.
Mm-hmm.
So now not only are you able to refer them business, which is always more professional to a customer's eyes, but they refer you business. I've got a guy that I'm going to see today, and all he wants us to do is move a piece of furniture. He texted me last night and asked me if we could make this happen for his parents. And I told him it's going to hit our minimum. I don't care. They need to have it done. I trust you to get it done, Kori. Can you get it done? That's what it's all about. It's all about building trust within other people because those people are seeing more people that you cannot see.
That's very key. You mentioned several great points there from a franchising perspective with marketing and relationships, community involvement, et cetera, that are really key to a small business and franchising. So in your group meetings, or do both of you attend, or Kori, or do you just attend?
No, Brittany will go in and sub for me, so that way I don't have to go all 4 weeks. But 90% of the time it's me, and a lot of that has to do with it's in my comfort zone. It's not necessarily in her comfort zone. So let's work on each other's weaknesses and strengthen those up.
So your mindset. Let's talk about that. Why do you believe resilience is the key to entrepreneurship?
I think a lot of people go into franchising, and the first thing we think about is McDonald's, Starbucks, Burger King. People don't realize how many different franchises there are out there. I mean, there's a pooper scooper business that's a franchise out there.
Exactly.
And if you can make money off of that, but the thing about a franchise is you don't have to reinvent the wheel. The wheel's already been invented. Just because I had trade experience does not mean I had business experience. So I didn't want to reinvent the wheel, because I had several people ask me, why would you do this? Why would you do that? Well, I want to make sure I had a support system. And on top of it all, I want to make sure that knowing what I know about business, it's not easy. Because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. And it takes, you gotta ride that roller coaster, baby. That roller coaster is gonna go up and down. Watch your bank account and tell me how it goes every year or every day. But in life, we're either going through a storm, we've been through a storm, or we're getting ready to go through a storm. And in order to achieve that blessing, you have to walk it out. This is a marathon, not a sprint.
So, Kori, let me ask you a question. In your particular franchise, you have a franchisor that you work with under that franchisor's guidelines, or where's your company fall into that?
So what I love about the Handyman Connection franchise, yes, we do have a franchisor.
Okay.
And there's a guy I work with every single Thursday morning. I stay in constant contact with our technology department. They give us suggestions, like, marketing partners and all that stuff. They show us what the traditional model looks like, and they also show us, I bring about more of a hybrid model, because to me, having guys go out here and just sell the product is not a way to scale a business. If you want your guys to work and make you money, you go out and sell the jobs and give them pre-sold work. Because if they had to go out and do it all themselves, my thought process is, why would you work for me? Why wouldn't you do something on your own? If you're selling the product, doing all the job costing, ordering materials. So yeah, we get the nice thing about this franchise is we can make a lot of our decisions on our own.
Okay. You mentioned McDonald's. You mentioned some of some of the other types of franchises that are out there, but there are a lot of franchises, and the franchisor have different relationships. You're describing your specific area. For those listeners that are out there that may be watching your show, a lot of people right out of bed, right as they get into something, they want to become a franchisee and become our franchisor, if you will, not understanding what the liabilities are and what all comes with that, territories, etc. Can you just briefly kind of dive into your specific handyman concept? Do you have territory? You've mentioned some of the resources. How does that work?
So yes, I mean, I cover the entire Louisville market. We go up into southern Indiana. 75% of the jobs that come through my office is pre-sold. So I do all of our sales, and about 70 to 75% of them. And then I've got other guys, like other craftsmen that I might go out, or we might do a virtual bid. A virtual bid is when a customer will send us a picture of something and the job is small, And there's no reason to send me out there to waste my time when all we're doing is changing out a faucet. And I can give you that price right over the phone. So I like the hybrid model to where my guys are working for me, making us money, which is then in return making them money. And we just keep them busy and we keep them working.
Okay. At that particular point, do you have a franchise fee that you have to pay and a marketing fee, or you do? Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just want to understand how that works for our audience out there. So I see you've retained a lot of awards. Tell us how that worked within your group. You're Rookie of the Year, and you was Franchise of the Year, which I'm sure means a great deal to you. How did you achieve that?
Well, I would say I can speak on his behalf. He utilized the support system that was given. I mean, he always, I always call him like a micromanager. Like he always wants to, make sure everything's running smoothly. But like we all know that like we're not Superman. We can't wear all the capes. So like he really utilized every support system that he could to do this the proper way and, to meet with people and make those connections. And that's why I love the business name. It's in the name. Like that's how we are successful is by connecting the way that we do with other people and building relationships. And he's done an amazing job of that.
Great. And I'm sure that as you all work with different clients, I have found from a marketing standpoint and also from the way your organization works, when you have a husband and wife working together, that tends to open more doors, if you will, when in relationship. Do you agree with that?
I would, but you have to set a boundary.
Brittany, yeah, he mentioned that you all have boundaries, and that when you get home, it's you spend an hour talking about business, but the rest is just normal family communication.
That's not true.
Not true.
Some
Okay.
days are better than others.
Okay.
Um, it's one of those things, but yes, creating those boundaries, there's a fine line and, it's just kind of let it naturally flow, if it's something that we are discussing, but like, I know for me, the kids are needing stuff. And then if he wants to talk and there's days where I'm like, not today, like it's over, and then, we just give it a rest and then pick back up, later or whatever, but definitely having those boundaries.
Well, I can in my experience as I worked as a franchise manager for KFC at one time for about 3 years, and I had 26 franchisees, husband and wife franchisees, and also those franchisees where I only dealt with one of the partners, and I would say that the successful franchisees long term were those that worked closely together and had those relationships that work for them individually. Each couple obviously has their own set guidelines. Sounds like you guys are really worked through that. So I want to move to our next category and to get a better understanding of your faith and your personal philosophy. How does faith influence your leadership and decision making, there, Kori?
You better pray before you make a decision.
Okay.
Same way that I raise my kids, there are consequences in life for every choice and every decision that we make. That consequence may be good or that consequence may be bad. But whatever choice you make, you better be prepared to handle the consequences. It is something that I know that he's not brought me this far to see me fail now. Now, I'm not saying that he won't ever humble me because he sure has. But I do know that I didn't get brought this far and go through the pits of hell that I've been through to be let down today.
Good point. Good point there. So, as we close our conversation, what advice would you give other entrepreneurs, small business franchisees that are listening in? What advice would you give them?
Stay grounded, remain as calm as possible. I say that because there are going to be several nights that you sit there and you think to yourself, like, what in the world did I do? But what I would say is stay the course. Trust the promise, not the process.
Mhm.
Trust the promise. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And be vulnerable, be honest. If you're struggling, you're struggling. You're not the first one that's ever gone through this. That's the beautiful thing about a franchise. The best thing about this franchise is the network of owners that you get to talk to that have been through this. They've gone through what you're going through. Some start slower, some start faster. I don't know what that looks like for the new guy. What I do know is that it's hard for anyone, but just know that where you're at today is not where you're going to be at tomorrow. Let your past be your greatest success and lean upon that foundation and continue to move forward, placing positive people within your life and utilizing your resources.
Very well said. Very well said, Kori. Kori, tell us where the audience, where they can find your site, some of the marketing information that you have out there. We'll flash it up on the screen as well, just so that people know how to get in touch with you and so forth.
So, Mr. Tinsley, you may know this. You being a former basketball player yourself, you may have heard of something called here in the city called the Dirt Bowl. We are a proud sponsor of the Dirt Bowl. We support what they do over there. You will see us in as far as from a social media aspect. You can find us on both Facebook, Instagram, and through LinkedIn. You'd have to search my personal name, Kori Farr, on LinkedIn, or on Instagram. It's at Handyman Connection Newburg. Facebook is Handyman Connection of Newburg. You can also go to our website, www.handymanconnection.com/Newburg.
So let me just make sure I'm correct. Newburg is Newburg, Indiana, and Newburg, Louisville.
The Bellarmine area, Louisville. So
Okay.
the funny thing about that is, and as you know, being in the franchise world, that's above my pay grade because half the people in the city of Louisville doesn't even know where Newburg is. You just tell them about Bellarmine or by the Louisville Zoo.
Yeah, Newburg Road. How about that? Yes. Yeah. Well, that's where KFC headquarters was located there for a while, right off of Newburgh. So, well, I tell you, Kori, it's been great having you and your wife Brittany on the program on our podcast. You've delivered a lot of great nuggets that I think a lot of folks that are maybe working for corporate America and possibly thinking about starting their own business and getting into franchising. And you hit it right on the head when you said there's more franchising opportunities out there than McDonald's, KFC, and some of the other bigger franchisor groups that are available. And one size doesn't fit all. There's a lot that franchise opportunities out there that you may fit exactly what you're looking to do. So I really liked also how you mentioned staying connected to a network that where you can find other resources, people that are doing things that are positive that can help, and also your faith being your base of your entire business and your family. That's quite admirable. So I congratulate you on that.
George, let me say this before we close, man. You know, behind every successful business owner, there is a woman in the background that has that has helped, or behind every successful husband, there is a woman in the background that has pushed them to get to the point in which they are. And I will say I am eternally grateful for not only my spouse but my family for supporting me throughout this entire thing. I do appreciate you for bringing me on this show.
Kori and Brittany, it was great having you on the show. We wish you much success in your endeavors. It seems like you guys are really have things together, and being there in my hometown of Louisville, Kentucky, and the surrounding areas, I wish you even more success. And anything that we can do, don't hesitate to give us a shout. So much success, and thank you for being on our show, Catch as Catch Can, and have a great day.
This has been Catch as Catch Can. The game isn't over. Your success story is just getting started. Head to tinsleyspeaks.com for exclusive content, resources, and opportunities. Catch as Catch Can with George Tinsley Sr., a production of Live Stream Editors.